Hey guys, Michael here. Anyways, just to start off, this is energetic problems for those of you that have been having some energetic problems, and these are quite common to have during anyone who's starting out on their journey, like especially when you're first starting out. Now, I'm going to talk about a few common problems, and there are some people that contacted me through the comments on Facebook that of some of the things they've been experiencing, and I won't read their names, but like I will read their questions and my answer to them and how that works. Anyways, so some common things that can start happening to you like as your energetic development is going. One thing you'll definitely probably experience is like kind of like a pressure up here, like up in your crown third eye area. And that's a pretty good thing that it means like that center is becoming active. These are often like growing pains that you'll have, and if it gets too much, like what'll usually happen is just stop energy work for a bit, then go a little bit more slowly at it if you would like, and that usually does the trick. Um, But if it keeps persisting, I would or if any other area of your body, I would recommend maybe you go see a doctor on that one, because often what I find is like when you do energy work, there are often blockages within yourself that. Do I have some paper? Yes, I do. Sweet. Let's see if I can get you guys some drawings here. Okay, maybe one that's actually that I can draw with. Ah, here's one. Okay, you're about to get some drawings, guys. All right, I'll use my book here I've been reading. All right. All right, let's say you've done some energy work here, and I'm going to just kind of this. Oh man, this has a bit of a long neck, as you can see here. But anyways, all right, and now this is what you get when you have me drawing. You have people with really long angular necks and really misshapen feet, and I don't have an eraser, so we'll have to deal with that as we go along. But anyways, let me see if I can actually zoom in. Okay, that's a little better. Sweet for you guys to see. All right. All right, this is okay. Yeah, I know it's very misshapen drawing, but let's say, for example, like you have like an energy blockage down here. It kind of looks like almost like a little pebble down there. What happens is, like when you do energy work, if it's pushed a little too hard sometimes, and there's a huge block there, it can often release, when it's punctured, some toxins that kind of will move out here. And so, like, if you are in any pain or anything and it won't stop, that might have happened. So just so you know, like, that is something to watch out for. And that's why I usually suggest when you encounter blocks, you want to try to do kind of a twofold method, where on one hand you have like you're pushing it with energy and awakening what's there, but you're also dealing with it on like a level of like emotional level, or like kind of mental level, wherever it's coming from, because it will manifest itself, and you want to pay attention when that's pushed. You might have some things come up to where you're really angry all the time about something, about one particular event. When you keep pushing on that particular spot, that will mean when you're pushing on that spot and you're doing energy work in that spot, you're pushing on a block that contains that memory. So what you do is, to remove that block, is you work through emotional clearing to get rid of the block. Otherwise, if you keep pushing on it, yes, you can clear it if it's small. But the problem is, if it's a really huge block and a huge hurdle, it can cause some health problems. So that's why I usually do not recommend people try to push through the blocks if they're kind of a really heavy block. But if they're a minor block, I will go ahead. It's your own kind of thing. So that's one thing that you should watch out for. And you know, as I said earlier in one of my last videos, like if you have like calluses at the bottom of your feet, or or on your elbows, and when they shouldn't be there, when there's no way you should be getting with them, that is one thing you should watch for, because since that's happening, it usually means there's some sort of negative energy build up within your body. So like what's happening, like for example with your feet, or let's say this, I'm going to use this guy as misshapen feet here. Let's say you have calluses at the bottom of your feet here, all right. Some of the things that what will happen is, like, usually what happens is the earth exchanges energy from you, from the bottom of your feet. And you know, there's some of you that don't like grounding, but you still will exchange some energy some way. Even if your feet aren't quite connected to the ground, you're still going to exchange some energy, because the earth is our platform. You know, your feet aren't directly connected all the time, especially within synthetic shoes these days. What'll happen is, like, if there's not if you get a clean connection between the two, what'll happen is toxins begin to build up in the body, and right through here. And what's happening is they're trying to drain through here, but they can't get through. And so what's happening is they're building up in the bottom of the feet. And you know, there's a little bit of good energy coming in to keep your vitality and everything up. But what will happen is that negative energy will settle all to the bottom of the feet here, and that can often happen. Or like a lot of energy goes into your arms and whatever you touch. And it's often said like the healer hands or whatever. When you touch something, your hands are very powerful. When they touch something, they leave their marks. And a lot of energy flow will go through the hand. The hand is a very huge energy conduit. So, like, what can happen is, like, let's say there's, I don't know exactly why I explained it, how it did, but what'll happen is sometimes you can get calluses here. And so, kind of depends on where the calluses appear, but there'll usually be a block right there. So try to center your energy work there and try to find out what is blocking you. There can be a huge amount of blocks that can come through you. And you know, there's the ones that are on the organs and stuff. Like, I've heard stories of people that have pushed the blocks a little too hard and didn't try to do any emotional clearing over it. What happened to them was they got some like infections actually, and that wasn't great. But anyway, moving on to the next one. All right, we talked about crown. Okay. Oh, this one, I believe I've heard a couple people come up and talk to me about, was they'll see kind of like a flaring that goes up in front of their vision, and they'll see spirits, or there'll be a big flash of light, like it can be purple, white, and usually means that is a strobing effect. Now, each of the chakras and energy centers have the ability to strobe. What that usually means, there's been a huge amount of buildup right in there that will cause that other parts to activate, and you know, it can mess with your vision for a little bit, but do not be concerned about that. That is actually very good news. So if that happens to you, it's very good news. It means your sight's developing and things are going very well for you. So don't worry about that so much. And oh, I believe I brought a book with me on one of the other strobing ones. I think there was Heart Center. I can't remember what it was though. Yeah. And when you get a lot of books, that's certainly a lot of things. Ah, okay, that gives me some topics. Aha, here it is, the heart. This one is actually talking about heart center strobing. It'll kind of feel like your heart's racing. And what'll often happen is like this often occurs in OBE exits, like for example, not etheric ones. I haven't had it with an etheric one, but more astral projections, because there's a lot of energy contained right in the core of yourself, because a whole part of you is literally detaching from yourself, and the heart center is the last thing usually to go, as well as the chakras up here. Those are usually the last ones to go, like the seven main ones. Like you usually see with astral projectors, it'll be your hands and your feet will come out first, because they're the ones that are less tied to you. So, and also heart strobing can also be done as an active healing. You'll see that, like with some healers, if you all of a sudden place your hands on someone and you feel like your heart all of a sudden starts racing, and but your actual physical heart isn't beating, that you just had a heart strobe. And what will happen is like there'll be a huge healing rush that will go through you and into the patient. And all right, now there's a few other ones that before I get to everyone's questions, and I'll get to the questions in the Q&A as well. Like you'll have energy tiredness, where you feel tired and like you start feeling like physically drained. What has happened is that you've used so much of your own energy. What's happened to you is that, let's say, for example, like normally you use 100 units of energy, and like you usually take in maybe say like maybe 125 units of energy, just for the excess of growing and other things like that. Or you may take in less depending, but it's usually a pretty balanced energy unit there. When you start doing energy work, the amount you're using goes up, and so that creates a deficit on how much you actually have. Let's say, like for example, let me do some math for you here, but you guys get the picture. Okay, so let's say you have 100 units starting out. Start using 200 when you start doing energy work, you end up with minus 100 units of energy. You're physically draining your pretty much your energy, and that can be, you know, give yourself some time to recover. Don't keep using that. Otherwise, you might start tapping into your life force, and that's not great to do. So try to keep it where you're only tapping as much as you can. So if you start to get tired, stop. Like you've had enough. There's no point in overdoing it. There's absolutely no point in overdoing it. You're just going to make yourself either sick or anything like that. So what happens is over time, like what will happen is this number, this will start to go to, let's say, 150. So you only, like, let's say, use 200 again after you've recovered some, of course, you've recovered fully. So let's say you have 150 this time out of 200. Now we're starting to go up. And on the days when you don't use it, you're actually having excess amounts of energy. And this is why, like, you'll see reports of people actually having better health, like that do Tai Chi or other energy work or Reiki, because their body is receiving an excess amounts of energy that goes in and heals the body. When you have more energy within you that gives life, you're literally healing your own body. And I'll get into this in with healing too. Like what'll happen with healing. Like one thing that happens with healing a ton, and I love this, is before you go to sleep, you can like literally start to heal yourself and keep a healing going throughout the night. And that's how I got rid of my cold so quickly. Like I wasn't feeling so great during some of the stuff, like when I was telling you about the blocks I had in one of my last videos. And I got rid of the block, but the sickness was still there, left over from it. So what I did is I managed to heal it in a matter of like 2 days, in which for a cold, that's pretty awesome, really. All right. So we covered energy tiredness, and so keep in mind that your energy levels will go up and up and up and up, and you'll eventually be able to do a lot more. Like before, when I first started, like I would create an energy ball. It's kind of pathetic, but like after a couple of energy balls, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm tired. I'm very tired. And then my first etheric travel I did, I was just like, when I succeeded, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm so far distance from my body here. It kind of gets a little tiring after a bit because I was using so much energy trying to go through that I was literally draining myself. So, it does take some time to build up. And something also to know, if you're worried about this, and you'll probably run into this as you go further along, is you may feel some reduced sensations through your energy. Like, let's say you don't feel as much as you used to. That's normal. That is absolutely normal. Do not be worried about it. You're not doing anything wrong. What's usually happening is your body is adjusting to the amount of energy that's flowing through you. So it's trying to come to equilibrium. And there'll still be a subtle sensation, but it's just it's kind of like this. You raise up and the equilibrium comes up. You raise up again, equilibrium comes back up. So it's kind of like a game where things just go, whew, that was a lot of energy, or okay, that wasn't so bad. I only felt just a little bit. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of energy in that. That just means that you've had a very well adapted and developed energy body where energy that goes through, that's completely normal for you. So it's like, okay, I got some extra energy. It's not really bothering me too much having that little excess. So yeah, that is definitely one. And here's another one, cobweb sensations. Like you might feel them in your face. That might kind of feel like a little bit of burning, really. What's happening to you is like there's like these tiny little, I think how it describes it, and I haven't had anyone that's experienced this. I would be really interested if anyone has. So contact me if you've had this, where it's kind of like these almost little burning sensation in your face. And that's just some cobweb stuff, and that's usually cleared out through some just minor energy work and stuff, like just clearing it out with the energy. And that's usually not too bad with a necessary block, right? Maybe just had some negative energy that was just stagnant in your field. Anyways, on to the Q&A here, and then I'll get to the questions and the comments that I had on Facebook. All right. All right, Nicole Jasperard. Hi, I deal with spirits. How do we stop them from draining our energy? Okay, that's a very good question, Nicole. All right. What usually is happening is there's a lot of people that have these things that like to latch onto you and drain your energy. They're kind of like vampires, and say like, and you'll usually feel a particular area once you've grown sensitive enough where the energy starts to literally feel like you're being drained out of, and that's the area that you want to focus on. And to usually get rid of something like that, you increase the vibration of the area in that specific area, like to sever the hold. And so you just raise it and raise it and raise it and raise it, and keep going up and up and up and up until you manage to sever the hold, until you can actually cut cords or disconnect them. And but raising the frequency is always the best bet first to help shake them loose. And so sometimes people can have really bad cords where you can have people come and help you out that have a little bit more energy or a little bit more sensitive, be able to find the actual cords and pull them out, or cut them out or cut them off. So it kind of depends on that. But usually what you want to do to when you start, before you raise the vibration, is to change your own energetic signature. So what you would do is, like, for example, this is something that might be a little hard, but this is what some people have done, and I've seen like people like Kelly's done this, and I think it was the last person she interviewed, Sultra. I don't remember her name, but she was the one who could read star writing, and I'm starting to I've been able to read star writing for a little bit too, but not as advanced as her yet. Maybe I'll do a video on that later. But the thing is, you change the frequency of your own energy to somebody else's signature. And what that will happen is that will break the connection or get them kind of like a little loose for a second for you to get the vibration of that energy to shake that cord completely loose. And that is something you do to keep that cord out of you. So when you start, so for example, if I was to like change my own frequency, I would change it to like, let's say like this crystal, for example, has a specific feel to it, or a person has a specific feel to them. You want to focus on feeling that specific energy. You want to focus on the memory of changing your own frequency or your energetic signature to match that one. You know, it won't be completely genuine of their frequency, but it'll be just enough to shake that cord loose, because that cord is focused on your specific energetic, let's say, signature, pretty much, or like it's their energy signal or what they're emitting off. So when you change your own energetic signal for just a moment, and it's going to go back to whatever it was, because you can't hold a different energetic signal forever. So you can only hold it for a certain amount of time. So what you do is just change the energetic signal, increase the vibration of your energy, and that should be able to stop them from draining you, because they'll have that cord attached. And then you can do some clearing with sage, like black tourmaline, to kind of get them out of the house. And you know, I'll teach you guys some more stuff later of how to like you've seen Sebastian's flashing video. That uses a lot of energy because you're putting it out in every direction. And you know, it is helpful if you're dealing with multiple entities, but if you're dealing with just one, it's better just for more of a direct approach, unless you can't see, of course. But that was Sebastian. He had a while where he couldn't see super well, and that's why he developed flashing in the first place. Anyways, I hope that answers your question, Nicole. All right. If anyone has any more questions, definitely put them up with the Q&A, or Nicole, if you have another question, you can put them up. In the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions I was given on Facebook. All right. I've been feeling blue lately, very out of sorts, where my moods are concerned, sleeping all day, borderline depression, but late at night it's like a switch. I feel better. Why? Is it the energy shifts from day/night or something else? I'm confused. I want answers, but yet I don't know the questions to ask. All right. And I feel more normal than I did 5-6 hours ago. Not completely 100% where I'd like to be, but better 8 hours from now. Who knows how I'll be then? Sorry. But basically, like, I answered a little bit of hers on Facebook to get her started, and I'm going to expand upon that. I'm going to put the answer out here, what I gave her first. What I told her is like something to get her started right now is to help focus herself back where she is. Like, because drowsy like that is you're kind of starting to drift off into, like, your brain frequency has gone down so much, like where you're kind of starting to focus into other realities, and you see that kind of like with some people that get into the high vibration, they're kind of like spacey, and sometimes that translates to tiredness. That's why I told her to focus back on this center of awareness in her body. Try to feel your body, and that will help you get back to it. And also like some healthy stuff like water, juice, and any other food that's really good for you. That should help. And also, like, with it being night, why you feel a lot more energy at night is like often there is like a lot of people that receive lots of information. What they'll do up in the higher realms is they'll send lots of energy and information down at that time of night. And that's why a lot of people have their best like moments of realization, like, oh, that's what I should have done, or bang, that's a great idea. Like, that's what usually happens at night. All this information is sent down as moments of inspiration to people. And that's why a lot of people get that at night. And why that is because we're all so busy during the day, we're not paying attention to anything. And so so they'll send it down and you'll receive it. And it's like, oh, oh, okay. And that's why you usually have more energy at night. And you know, there are some more energies at night, like you might be more attuned to the lunar energy out there. It's not here as well. And you know, I'm more active at night, so it's not really something that you should be too concerned about. But you know, and there's also, you know, getting onto a good schedule. Sometimes your body can just, a natural clock can just start shifting over to that spot where it gets later and later and later. And as for like depression, and that can lead to insomnia, which I've seen in quite a few cases, is people will get insomnia because of some depression they've had or really horrific event, which can be an energy block for some people. And so what I do is like try to see if there's any blocks. If there isn't, that's not something too much worry. That's just how you are. You're more comfortable at night. And I'm more of a night owl, and that's how I am. But like if there is something, there is an issue there, like there is some depression involved, that would be something to look at for a block there. And I would try combing through your body, seeing if there's any parts of you that you kind of feel like there's nothing there. And that when there's nothing there, that usually means there's a block there because it's like it's impenetrable. You can't go through the, like, so let's say I had a block there. Like if I try to move through that area, what would happen is it would just kind of feel like I'd pass over it. There'd be nothing there. It's kind of like empty space. Or it feels kind of really like sluggish. That's another thing. Your energy can feel really sluggish in that area. It doesn't necessarily mean a block, but it means there's more stagnant energy there. So, oh, we got another one. Okay, I got a few more questions. All right, but I hope that should help that person out for that last one, and I'll take a few more Q&A questions now. Nicole says thank you. All right, you're welcome, Nicole. All right. All right. Okay. Hi, Michael. I've been hearing voices, seeing things, and feeling a tingling sensation on my forehead like 5 years ago, and it has slept. Do you know why I don't have these experiences anymore? I didn't even meditate at the time. Okay. You know, okay, I'll put the question up there so you can read it. Whoops. There can be quite a few things with that. Like there could have been some higher energies at the time that could have triggered that, and where you would hear voices. Because what often happens with Claire, not many people know this, but you know, your third eye, it's not just for seeing. Your third eye is also attuned to your other senses, like hearing for one. What'll usually happen is like there's energy pathways that extend from the third eye and start to move out to the hearing areas. So what could have happened is like there could have been more higher energy at the time and came and triggered those areas where you were able to hear them. And you know, there are some more telepathic areas, and like if you can put in the questions below, like what kind of voices, what were they saying to you, like, and you know, we might be able to kind of ascertain like were they good, were they not so good entities, were they guides. You know, when people hear voices, those are often other entities that are trying to influence people. And you know, like when somebody says the devil made me do it, you know, that is actually true in some regard, like, you know, some people just say it just, you know, just to say it, you know, they're kind of lying and making excuses, but some people actually do hear these voices and they tell them to do things. And what these voices are trying to do, they're trying to impose their will on other people. And, you know, I don't want to freak anyone out, but often that can happen. So, but sometimes they can be good voices, sometimes they can be bad. But something to remember, all entities have some agenda of some sort. Even your own parents had some agenda of some sort. Doesn't mean they're bad. Just means that everyone at some sorts has an agenda. I have an agenda, you have an agenda. What do you want? What are you trying to accomplish? Ooh. Oh, it's got a little dusty in here for some reason. Anyways, like what can also start to like shut everything down is like, how old were you at the did anything happen over the time? Did you have like a lot of bad things happen to you during that time? Or did you kind of shut everything down? Or what exactly happened during that time period? Like we can go back and look at your history and stuff, what exactly happened. Because there's a lot of different factors to play that could shut that kind of stuff down. There could be blockages. There could be just the voice moved on. And what will usually happen is like, it can be any one of those scenarios. And you know, sometimes people can have like channeling where they'll have information channeling into their head and they'll hear it as voices in their head. So, you know, it can be quite a bit of different things that can happen. So I'd be very interested in actually hearing a bit more about this and seeing why, like some of the history of why. If you want to, you can contact me on Facebook privately, or you can pose another question here and I can try to answer it here. All right, here's another question from Nicole again. All right, I do have one more. I tend to hear spirits more at night. How do I turn it off? It's like they're whispering in a male voice when I heard when I was younger. Am I hearing the same entity? Now that depends really. Entities can often change their voice and their appearance. So like I've heard some Christian stories out there where like I saw John the Baptist, or like I saw this apostle, or I saw this angel out there, or there's numerous different stories. But often entities have a true form that they can show, and you can tell when they're in their true form when you get a little bit more discerning, because what happens is when like with their true form is they'll often put themselves in a more pleasing form that's not going to freak you out. Oh man, something's really tickling my throat causing this cough. All right, so you may be hearing the same entity. That's a very real possibility, but it may not be. So what you should do if you hear it again, try to extend your awareness outwards and try to get the feel of that specific entity, because everyone has a specific feel around them. They may be able to change that for just a little bit, but they can't change it forever, and there's going to be some abnormality that's going to throw it off. Like, for example, like when somebody tries to imitate somebody else's voice or they pretend to be somebody else, there's something there that is going to throw that off. And it's like, oh, you're different. Yeah, okay, she says this one freaked her out. And so what you can do to like shut things off, like at night when you just like want to focus back into the real world, like often people that are hearing things, like they'll be like, some are really focused into this reality, and you know, they usually have a connection there with the entity, like an actual cord with it, or like I've even heard some cases where the entity is actually sharing a body with that person. And yeah, I don't want to freak anyone out, but that can happen. That can really happen. It can happen to people as children. Like you often hear people like and I'll talk about this in my psychic defense course, like you see children playing with an imaginary friend that they found, and the imaginary friend is telling them to do very bad things. What do you think is happening there? And it can trick a child to take that entity in, and like I've seen some cases like of people that take it in as a very young child, and they live a very normal life, but there's sometimes when that entity rises up and wants to experience something. All right. Okay, so yeah, I'll get to the previous question in here in a bit because they gave me some more information, but so it could be the same entity, but just watch for it. And if you want to shut things down for a bit, just kind of close things off, like how we open the chakras for one of our first videos. Try, if you don't know how to open the chakra, like you can close it back down, just for safety. Like if you were like, let's say you're in the worst situation possible, like absolutely worst situation, you can close the energy centers down, which can, like, it's pretty much like putting yourself into siege mode, which is pretty much closing all the vortexes and everything that's just keeping all your energy inward, where there's nothing where they can attach to. And it's not healthy to stay like that. It's absolutely not healthy. But like if you're in a really bad situation, and I'll get to this in my psych defense course as well, like if you're not anywhere around water, especially like good pure water, that is an excellent defense against entities. Because if you stand in water or you're in a shower, like, and you're having a really bad psychic attack or entity getting at you, water by far is the best place you can stand. Like if you want to get away, stand in water. That is like, if that is your emergency little bunker, is in the shower or the bath. That is a really good one. I've seen some people do that. Okay, but yeah, if you want to turn it off, like just try closing it down, or just trying to focus back into this reality, and or eating something very grounding, like eating some very grounding food, like I would even go so far as say meat or anything like that. And those can be kind of like, yes, they don't help your own energy, but they do kind of calm things down. They kind of level things out to where everything's not so high up here and you're like freaking out with all these high energies. You're like, stop, I'm freaking out. But yeah, that's some things you can do. If you have any more on that. All right. All right. Nicole says the one that she was talking to really freaked her out. All right. All right. Back on to the previous question. There was a positive. He was a positive voice, I guess, that told me I will encounter a strange person, which I did. That may very well be a guide. Not all guides are great, but pay attention to those guides. And if they start telling you to like avoid friends, and like those are really great friends, they haven't done anything to you, those may not be the best guides to follow. And there's a lot of guides out there. Some are good, some are not so great. Just like with people in the world, there's some good people over here and there's some not so great people over here. So it can kind of vary. So you may be running into a guide of yours. So when you want to contact guides, like they'll usually be just somewhere out in the open, but you have to ask them to come into your presence. And you like to usually contact them, like when you hear things, they're usually inside your head. Usually I've heard some people will actually hear it, like they'll actually hear it, but most of the time it'll be kind of like, it's almost like a memory that you're hearing in your head. It's kind of like telepathic, but it's not a memory. So pay attention to that. And so when you're trying to ask them questions, pay attention to the feelings you're getting. It's kind of like when some people pray, when they want to talk to God or source or whatever you like to call him, like they pray, and what they'll do is they'll say the prayer and then they immediately stop. Okay, it's pretty much like let's say, okay, grab my phone here. Let's say, hello, can you answer this question for me? Bye. Yep, hung up the phone. So when you're asking someone to answer a question, like an entity or whether you're praying, try to wait for a moment and quiet your mind. It's not that you want to have a blank mind, but you're having things come into you. It's like clearing off, like let's say you clear off a chalkboard and you want a blank piece of paper for things to come in so there's communication between the two. So when you do that, you want to have clear communication between the two. So that's why you clear your mind. And you know, often they won't communicate directly with words. They can communicate through feelings, through information, and pictures. You know, information and pictures is some of the best ways that some of my guides communicate with me, because a picture has a lot more information. And sometimes they'll just put it into a pure information where it's just like, oh, that's what I should be doing. It's like all of a sudden, like you received the understanding and information about a situation. Like let's say, like I'm going into a situation where some people are really angry at each other, or I need information about this particular energy. Instead of actually going through the thing, actually going through everything, it's like that. You have the information at hand in your head, and you know what to do with it, instead of having to go and get a feel for it. That's why sometimes when people are in trouble, like you'll often hear of like they'll all of a sudden like know how to drive a car like a professional, but afterwards it's completely gone. They received an instant down upgrade just for that brief moment, just a brief moment that they were able to save themselves in that brief moment when they weren't ready to go and they weren't ready to die yet. All right. So, yeah, Freeman 555, just pay attention to like what you're feeling and like what you're when you hear those voices. So, if you have any more questions, you can post them below on that one. Okay, done. Okay, next one. Is there a way to contact with a specific person that is dead? Ooh, I love this one. That one's getting into channeling a bit. Like you can call people, like what I've seen from seances or whatever, but once you actually attune your senses, which I've been working on with you guys, is eventually when you're able to seek people out through etheric travel and actually go meet them face to face instead of having to like do a seance or whatever, or try to get them on the third dimensional level, which is a little bit more harder for them because you're drawing them back down from a higher dimensional level and you're causing their vibration to fall back down to ours. And so what will happen often is it's like when you call them down, it can kind of not be so happy for them. And it kind of, that's why they don't like to stay here very often, because they've lowered their vibration to this world. And even though we're moving more into the higher 4 or 5D vibrations with the earth like moving higher in vibration, this is still the agreed upon three-dimensional reality. And you know, we're seeing like changes in it where like there's brief flashes of time moving forward really fast, or like moving really slow, and it's time's acting weird right now. And all the energies with portals ripping open, and the reality is changing into something so different that, oh my god, I love it, because it's not a 4 or 5D reality, but it's not a 3D reality either. It's something changing to something like a bit of a hybrid of a dimension where it's something completely different. And that, to me, is exciting. Where you're getting kind of some of both worlds right here. And so, yes, you can contact the dead. And just make sure it's that correct person. Like, and often, like, people when they die will leave a part of them behind that was their like living energy that they had. Some people call it a tulpa. That was that person, And you can contact that one. That'll usually have a better information. But if you want a clear connection to that actual person, you want to contact either their soul or their spirit. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen another video on this, like where I did, where like I explained the difference between a soul and a spirit, and you also saw Kelly do this as well on her channel. That there's a difference between a soul and a spirit. Like your soul is what's inside of you here, and your spirit is way out there. It's your higher self. And so the soul is just a small piece of that spirit that's in you, that's acting as your avatar, so to speak. So it's still you. It's just like there's just a small piece of you. And when that piece of you goes back and it dies, it goes and meets up with that source part of you, and it's still connected anyway. So that spirit is transforming under any condition at any given time. And you know, there's some more things where like you have the higher spirit and your soul no longer, like there's no separation anymore. Like when people say there's no separation anymore, they're talking about like what'll happen is like you are connected to everything. You are literally connected to everything. That because it sees everything up there. There's kind of like almost an omnipotence up there. And so what happens is as you develop more and like you start focusing on your heart center and focusing moment to moment on it, what will usually happen is that spirit and soul will eventually, I mean the body and soul will unite, and then eventually as more like your body's able to handle more energy, that spirit can start to come down too and add more of itself into that, because that body needs more of a soul vitality because there's more of it in there. And what will usually happen, the veil starts to lift and you start to remember things that were out there that happened to you. Like I have some of my memories that are unlocked of what happened to me when I was up there and like before this life and everything. And believe me, it gets pretty crazy. It's pretty funny. I don't know about funny, just amazing. But yeah, it can be a lot of fun. And you know what you start to find out too is you see a lot of people, they say like let go of the emotion. Well, one thing I have to say to that is like, yes, you do clear the emotions, but you should not let them go, because yes, they were agreed upon for the density here, but if you let go of emotions, you're also letting go love, because love is also an emotion, but it's a higher emotion. I don't want to say lower emotion. That, you know, love is a much higher emotion, and what you're doing in this experience is you're also transforming those other emotions and experiences that you're having here. So instead of like letting go of the emotion, starts transforming the experiences that you're having here. For example, you're really angry at somebody. Well, what can you use that anger for? Instead of something in a constructive way, what can you use it? How do you react? Instead of your emotions just reacting, are you in control? What do they teach you? Like, for example, if you had a really big fight with somebody, sure, you could go into that fight and hurt them as much as possible, or you go in a very constructive manner and say, I'm sorry, or, you know, like saying this really hurt and, you know, I'd like to work it out. And you work it out in a very constructive manner that is where it solves and fixes things and heals things, rather than it's very destructive, makes people hurt and feel bad. So try to go into that, because this experience is transforming our spirits in new ways. I mean, some of us may be starseed or whatever, but what happens is, like, when you go to new planets or whatever, like, you're taking the experiences and adding it to your energy of your spirit. So it's experiencing new things and gaining new experiences. It's kind of like if I went to like travel to Italy or any other place in the world, that place would change me. It would change my perceptive and experience of that place, and I gain a lot more knowledge about the world. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. We're here. just to experience and like get more knowledge and perspective on a place, even though sometimes this place is really sucks, but try to look at this place as a bit of a challenge and not something where you're just like, I hate it here. This is awful. Well, yeah, it's going to be hard. You picked the challenge here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come here. All right. Okay. Okay. Another question here. If I meditate every day, which I do, and consume fluoride water, is that bad for the third eye? Can I still open my third eye and have wonderful experiences? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, like fluoride does like have some negative effects where it does, you know, like put some stuff like on the third eye where it kind of makes it a little harder for it. But as your frequency increases, you start to overcome that that limitation, because what's happening more and more and more is your frequency is slowly going up. And that frequency, when people do those third eye meditations, like the binaural beats, you're raising the frequency, and what that's doing is it's shaking that stuff off. Sure, that you may have some more stuff coming in, but what it's doing is it's shaking it off, and eventually that vibration gets too high to where the fluoride does negligible like amount that it can do to you. So like, but if you like, of course, you get your energy very stagnant, you can't see anything. It's like, sure, do some more energy work in that area to wake it up, get it woken up. Like that's why I usually, when you start before a psychic reading, you center your energies, get them woken up, kind of get things flowing, try to get any of the cobwebs out. And so that's what I often do to get everything cleared. And what I do to keep in practice, like sure, some people meditate, but you may forget to meditate. And so what I do to keep my senses open, because in meditation, yes, you can see everything, everything's amazing. But what about in everyday situations? What are you going to do during then? Because meditation, your mind's quiet, everything, there's no distractions. But to make things a little bit more interesting, try to do it while you're walking. Try to expand your senses while you're walking or while you're seeing. That makes things a lot more harder. And it tunes your focus even harder because you're working with distractions now. Meditation is good for when you're trying to really focus on something or when you're really starting out. So you should never abandon meditation because it's very good for actually focusing on a specific thing you're trying to do, like either travel or anything else that you're doing that's really going to take a lot of focus, like for example, healing or whatever. So try to focus with distractions going on. That is your next step. So yeah, you can still honestly have wonderful experiences. It may take a bit longer, but eventually you'll overcome those. All right, thanks a lot. I'll add you on Facebook. Sweet. All right, let's get to another question from Facebook here. Let's see, what do we got here? Hi, my life has always been like I don't want it to be. I want to make it good as possible, not perfect, and feel like I have a reason to live currently. My life is so boring, not like me, and I don't know where to start to get it. Thanks, I'm impatient, and like they also mentioned there they want to see the Akashic records, and you know, like seeing the Akashic records, you'll get into more of that when like you start to travel through the dimensions, which I'll be going over, and how to access the Akashic records later. But for now, for actually getting your life in order where you're actually feeling like you have a purpose, that you feel like life is worth living. All right, this is something that a lot of people are going to love. All right, focus on your heart center moment to moment every day, and like I mean really your heart center, your heart chakra, there's a spot right there where right where your soul rests, and it's a very powerful tool. So focus on that heart center. You really want to focus your awareness there and ask it the question, like, what can you show me every day to where I can start learning these experiences, and what should I learn every day? Make it your goal, like, and set that intention within yourself to, I want to learn this, or I want to heal this, and set that intention and make it one that's not selfish, but something that's really going to improve you for, like, so, like, let's say I want to learn telekinesis, like, I want to impress my friends or whatever. It's like, well, I guess, but like that's not really on the higher self's agenda. Now, what you could say is, like, you want to have a, like, a very, what's the word for it? An honest intention, like an actual very honest intention where it's not going to be demeaning to others. It's only focusing on your benefit of that experience, like where you're not impressing anyone else, but you're going, or if you want to, like, have it where it's like it's benefiting to where you're learning more about that specific thing. So, like, if I wanted to learn telekinesis, I would say, what can I do to more, like, learn about telekinesis so I can learn a bit more about energy and how it works. And it's going to give you some steps to follow and start moving forward. Like, for example, if I focused on my heart center completely on telekinesis, it'd have me watch videos, study, learn, research, and put the energy out there where I go out there and learn about it. And since I've set my attention like that, things are going to come up, because now your higher self is also engaged in the process, and that is very powerful. So what will happen is, when that higher self is engaged and you're engaged in it as well, the higher and lower selves are agreeing on something, and that's extremely powerful. And what will happen is, like, you'll eventually be gravitating towards that. Or, like, if you want to know what your life purpose is, you'll start gravitating towards that area, and you'll constantly be moving to figure it out and find it. So if you want to, focus on that heart center, and you'll be able to find what you're wanting to and wanting to learn, and what you're, or you can also ask, what does the ascension process have to show me? Or what does the higher self want to show me, like, to open this third eye or do telekinesis? Or what does it want to show me? Show me that pure intention of what my higher self wants to show me, because the higher self is you, and it's very smart about what, like, will build that experience, because it's like the full you. The lower self is just, it's your identity, yes, and it is you, but the higher self is your true you. So as you start coming more into it, you start feeling like it's more you than ever, and you're not involving, like, having to impress everybody, because most of the time it's just like you want to feel important, or like you're actually, like, matter, or like something that you're doing is worthwhile. So think on that. All right. Next question is in the Q&A. How do I know when my third eye is open? Is there a feeling you get? How long can it take for it to open for the first time? Is meditation the only way to open it? Oh man, I love this one. Like, your third eye. All right. The third eye, it is your opening perception center. It sees everything. It helps you hear and feel. It's your perception center of, like, seeing energetically. And there are tons of ways to open it. Like, I had a meditation to open your third eye. Yes, it's open, and you're opening it. But here's the thing, those connections are undeveloped. Like, you haven't used those connections that are going into your eyes, or like into your mind's eye. You've got to use those connections to slowly develop them. It's like, for example, if I never used my legs, like, if I absolutely did not use my legs for a number of years, they would atrophy, and they would go until they were really small, and I couldn't do much from them. So what you do is you practice seeing, and that's why I had you guys expanding your energy outwards and visualizing, seeing what was in the room, because you're seeing with energy, you're seeing with your third eye, because and you're feeling what's going on around you. And there's lots of ways. There's binaural beats, and you can start getting those strobing effects that I talked about earlier. You'll see like these flashes of light go off, like a camera flash, be purple, white, or whatever. And that's usually that's a good sign that things are working, because like it's connecting to the optic nerve. Because what's usually happening, it goes like energy is energy. Like whether it's light, sound, there's always waves of energy that are interpreted. So like when you see something like that's through your eye and you're actually seeing it physically, it's being interpreted through your optic nerve. It's going through here, up into your brain, and through your perception filters, and then finally into your spirit. So like, or when you're just having you're sensing things with energy, it goes through your energy and then go through your perception filter and into your brain. There is a lot of different things that how that all works, but yeah, there's binaural beats, and I actually have I can actually, let's see, there's one on YouTube that was really good that I used when I first opened mine. It was I think it was Serenity, I think, and it was like 15 minutes long, and it kind of had this humming tone that went up and down. Like it was like I think I hope do I have that on here? Let's see, music. Unfortunately, I don't. So I have it on my other computer. Yeah, if you're interested and want to find that, contact me after this video, and I'll see if I can get you that music. And that can be very helpful for opening it. And there's other ways where you use breathing. You breathe in the energy, and you breathe it into your third eye, and you visualize the light going into that and opening it. And there's also my method, which I put in I believe my second video, I think, where it's like you open it, but if you use a combination of these methods, it will open. Guaranteed it will open. But something to keep in mind is a lot of people make this mistake, is they open the third eye first because it's the most flashy, you see everything. But you want to open the lower chakras first as well and work your way up. And you want to work on the full energy body experience, because if you focus on just one chakra, it's a very unbalanced energy. And what often happens is like people get very spacey, they can get arrogant, they can have mood swings. And that's why there's a lot of like things with the third eye, because it has a very negative stigma. So would love to have that YouTube video. Like on actually opening the third eye, you mean? Okay. Yeah, I'll wait for you to answer on that one. But anyways, so you want to actually develop your entire energy body, because there's more than just the 7 chakras, as I showed you in my first few videos. There's lots of them all throughout your body. You even got these little ones on your fingers here that have little energy centers there that all have jobs, and each have their own little thing that they do that you don't quite realize. So work on everything, like the entire development. You want to work on feeling energy move through your body and going through different areas, waking them up and lighting them all up, because when you do that, it creates a very balanced experience, and you'll have more energy available for awakening the third eye, because the more energy that you're producing in other areas of the body, that also shifts over to when you're trying to stimulate a certain energy center, our little favorite one here, and the crown centers for receiving information. So, and there's lots of them, different things like the heart center for empaths and everything. That's why they can feel everything, because they're very empathic. They have a very strong heart center. Oh, the one on that was good. The binaural beats. Okay. All right, answer the okay. Yeah, I'll post that on Facebook if you're on Kelly and the Raws channel. I'll post it on Facebook for anyone that wants to like find that, or I can put in the link below. It doesn't matter, whatever you guys would like me to do on that one. Now, let's see. But yeah, if there's any more questions on that, I'll take them. Okay, and we'll go through this. And I think we have one more Facebook question. If anyone has any more Q&A questions, put them up there. Okay. Oh, this one was a good one. This person was having, like, someone close to them having a lot of out-of-body experiences. And what was happening to them is, like, from when I talked to them, is like, you know, some people can have out-of-body experiences when they just, like they're so out there, they're so spacey that they start to feel everything around them. You notice this in meditation. Like, what'll happen to people is, like, when they expand outwards in meditation, what happens naturally is when you relax, like, the aura and energy field expands outward naturally, and that's why you're able to see everything around you. And that also refers to Nicole's question she asked earlier, like on Facebook, why, like, she was able to see and feel everything because she got, like, I don't know if this was what happened to her, like, she could have been very relaxed and felt everything around her. Like, so that's why she was able to, like what she described, like, that she was able to see her kitchen. That's part of etheric travel, what could happen to you, but it's also part of, like, what happens naturally in meditation. The auritic field expands and touches everything, and since you're paying attention, that's why you're able to see those kind of experiences. So for people that have out-of-body experiences, like, there's a lot of ways people can have out-of-body experiences. Like, for one, like, you can have a very traumatic experience. Let's say, this is a very horrible one, but, like, let's say you were being very brutally beat by, like, your mother or your father or your brother, and or something that was just awful, like the most awful thing you can imagine. And what will usually happen right there is your soul for a second will leave a connection into the body and separate. And that's why people are able to see themselves outside their own being, and they float above themselves, because the spirit and soul is naturally trying to protect itself from something that's so awful and will damage that person so much, it's trying to withdraw for a bit. And that's why often people will also have what's called soul splits. Like, a piece of their soul will literally split off of themselves. And that's why often, like, people who cut or have a lot of depression and they can't feel anymore is because there's a piece of their soul that's missing. And when you don't have a piece of that soul missing, there's a lack of energy in some areas, and also functions that your soul operates on within the core of itself. That gets a little interesting to explain. But basically, in a nutshell, with that piece of soul missing, it's just going to create it where you're not feeling anything anymore. And that's why people cut or mutilate themselves, because they want to feel something. And so, yeah, that's one way a person can have an out-of-body experience. Another one is a near-death experience. That's another one. And another one is, like, for example, if channeling, for example, if a person channels, like, sometimes you can move out of the driver's seat, so to speak, and move into the passenger side, or completely out of the car altogether. And this also can happen with possession as well, where you're no longer completely in control, but you still have a connection there, because that connection there, that spirit couldn't be there completely unless they had a strong enough connection, which can sometimes happen, but you can never be completely booted out unless the higher self allows it. Because what happens is, like, that body is yours. That body is completely yours unless there is an exchange to go on. Like, for example, like, you've heard of walk-ins. where the person's personality and everything completely changes after a traumatic event or depression of some sort, and they don't want to no longer be on this planet, and they exchange the soul that literally goes out of their body and another soul comes in. And that spirit up there has no longer anything. You maybe watches or whatever, watches that life, but that soul is off doing something else now. And that new spirit is having control of the situation and having the experience. And so, you know, that can create some different things. Or it can be like a failed walk-in where it was about to happen, but something changed at the last minute. And like I said with channeling earlier, like when you channel, you're literally sharing like a soul or a spirit with you, so to speak. But I'll just say soul because that's more correct. You're sharing another soul inside of yourself. That's why when people that channel, they have to make sure their brain isn't fried because they had all that extra energy inside them. They had literally another soul inside with them. And or they can have like be somewhat floating out of their body, or when they'll get these flashes of memories, like when there's another soul inside them, because the souls exchange information. It can feel like you're out of body, but you're not. You're just sharing that experience for a bit. And you know, there's a lot of complicated things with like out of body experiences, but they can happen. All right. Does anyone have any more questions? I think that was the last of the Facebook things. Anything you guys want me to elaborate on or anything like that? If not, in like the next 2 minutes or so, we'll go. And I think one thing I'll talk about here while I wait for any other questions, like if there is any, is like with energetic problems. Like there's one thing you should remember, like I said with Mercury retrograde in the last video and stuff, those are temporary like problems usually. Every energetic problem is usually temporary. Just remember that. There usually is a temporary problem there. And you know, just ask people. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. No one's gonna judge you. You know, there are some judgmental people out there, but try and find someone that you trust that won't judge you and that you can share those experiences with. Anyways, it doesn't seem like there's any other questions. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day.